And thank you again for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and this is Mighty Men Thursday. And we have a very special guest, and his name is Mark Carter. I got a chance to talk to Mark. It's weird. It's like I've talked to him, and I've talked to him on X Spaces, and I've seen him on videos, but I've never like met him in person, like face to face, like shook his hand, give him a high five, nothing like that. So I'm very excited that he, graciously accepted my invitation to be on the show. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him online with us. Hey, Mark.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. We can hear you fine. So, again, thank you so much for joining us here on Mighty Men Thursday. So, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell the people what you are working on in the community and where they can follow you. And then we'll get into a topic of your choice.
Okay, so good morning. As she stated, Mark Carter, Chicago activist. I would say for the last almost 30 years, been living on the front line of Black people's issues, whether it be around housing, education, um, jobs, contracts, police shootings. I mean, you name it. In the activist community, we like to say that we have many jobs. you know, so we fight all causes. I mean, when we get the phone calls, we show up. And they can reach me on Twitter, just simple Mark Carter on Twitter. So there you have
Okay. Yep. I have you at Chicago Going Red.
Oh, okay. Yes, that is my Twitter handle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I often forget that.
It's okay because I know that you're about getting the work done.
Oh,
You're not how should I say, you're not about vanity.
no, not at all. Not at
Not
all.
at all. Not at all. So yesterday I was I want to say it was either yesterday or day before yesterday, we were talking about Larry Hoover. And
Mm-hmm.
you were just giving some background on, you know, your history with him. And I just wanted to know if you could share some of that with our audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, it was the transitioning that was going on that was most important, and I'll start there. In the late '90s, when they were targeting him to take him into the federal system, it was just around that time when mass incarceration was in full swing. That they had basically decided that they would stop rehabilitating in the prison system and go further into mass incarcerating. The prisons were starting to expand. As you know, in those early 90s, say 92, 93, 94, Bill Clinton was in office, and he had decided that he was going to put 40 billion dollars, no, $30 billion, $30 billion into the omnibus crime bill to build more prisons. And so Larry Hoover was um, right in the midst of his campaign of switching Gangster Disciple over to growth and development. And
Mhm.
that ran counter to Bill Clinton's plan in the Democrat Party. Um, and so, like any other time politically, when you get in the way of politicians, they move on you. And that's exactly what they did to him. They moved on him because he was turning the lives of young people around in and out of prison. Uh, they not only sent him to federal prison, but put him under the jail so that his message would not spread while they were making their money off the prison system.
Wow.
And after Larry Hoover left, uh, Illinois prisons went from maybe 11, 12 prisons up to 41 prisons. So, they were intentionally going after us as young people. And keep in mind that we are the children of those third grade test scores,
Hmm.
where they determined that by those third grade test scores that they were going to put us in prison versus rehabilitate us. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And one other thing I want people to know is that those prisons that were built, there's something out there called prison REITs. And it's a public-private partnership because, see, the prisoners are technically slaves, and it's free labor that you don't have to necessarily pay a high stipend to. They just have to give them some type of stipend. And so, they're given free labor to work in their companies or whatever their corporations are doing, but at the same time, those that are involved in these prison REITs are making tons of money because it's a government contract, right? But it can also be invested in by the public. So they're making
Yeah,
money on both sides, and REITs definitely pay out like 90% of their earnings, which keeps them in a low tax bracket. Because I actually used to work for a healthcare REIT. So it was more based on healthcare real estate, but it was the same concept. But I think the prison REITs are a little bit more nefarious because people don't realize that all of these prisons being built, that there's billions of dollars being made behind the scenes.
yeah, because most people just they have this mindset of oppression and hate and they've been painted this picture um, that that you know lock them up, throw away the key, and so they don't understand that the Correctional Corporation of America is one of the biggest criminal operations in the world, and
Right.
it's a money making criminal operation headed up by a bunch of investors who, like you say, make tons of money off the backs of uh, what's equivalent to the black codes
Yeah.
after slavery, um, where they target young people to incarcerate so that they can enslave. Because you do know under 13th Amendment that you can enslave people if they've been found guilty.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we had a question from one of our viewers from South. He wanted to ask you, Mark, how do you think Job Corps could be improved? We were talking
Well,
about Job
Job
Corps
Corps.
a little bit earlier. Go ahead.
It's funny. It's funny they mentioned Job Corps because as of this morning, uh, a video that I was watching, they ended Job Corps, and I was just saying, I just text Miss Alice Johnson, the lady who's the pardon czar. I just text
Mhm.
her this morning and let her know that this will cause a rise in next offenders if we don't do something about this. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah, so I think Job Corps has since ended, and I think we all need to make some noise about this, um,
Yeah.
put it back on the table of the administration, because I'm pretty sure that Trump wasn't made clear before they cut this money the impact that it would have on
Yes.
children, mainly young people. So, and if he did know that the impact it would have, then we need to apply pressure to him to bring
Mhm.
this program back.
Yeah, I was actually covering it a little bit earlier today in my show. I spent almost about 45 minutes on it, close to an hour, but just going through, the budget and how much it was interesting. It's like Job Corps sent their budget to the Department of Labor and then turned around and said the Department of Labor was lying about the numbers. I'm like, these are the numbers you sent them. You spent this
Mm,
money, but again, they're spending it on, certain, I won't call them DEI programs, but they are DEI programs.
mm,
You're involving a community, the LGBTQ community, and even though some of them are complaining that, hey, we're not getting the resources, then why do you have a document talking about how you need to handle people that are transgender? What does that even have to do with Job Corps? Job Corps is about setting you up so you don't get in a whole bunch of debt in college, right? But you're set up with
okay.
a middle class education and job so that
Hmm.
you can have that middle class economy. I mean, they were letting people out and they were like, oh yeah, the average income that they were getting was like 16,000. I was like, nobody can live off of 16,000. That's below the poverty line. What are we doing?
Yes, way below the poverty line. I mean, median incomes are only what $24,000 a year, and
Right.
we know that people can't survive off that. So,
Exactly.
and we have to. I mean, but we have to demand that if you get rid of a Job Corps, because
Hmm.
sometimes it may cost tons of money to fund those programs, then you have to replace them with something. I mean,
Yes.
but that's just not going to work. I mean, to take Job Corps away, and it's dangerous. I mean, it would cause violence to
Yeah.
spike, and that's why I hit Miss Dallas Johnson up this morning. I called her,
Hmm.
well, I texted her
Good.
and let her know that we need to address it. This has got to be addressed.
Yes. Yes. I
So you
actually,
saw the same thing I did, that
yeah.
it was they're cutting the program.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so I'm glad
Yep.
somebody else saw it.
Yeah, I encourage my
Hmm.
listeners to call the press office for the Department of Labor and, just demand to keep Job Corps in place. Because, it's
Hmm.
the adults that were over the budgets, you know what I'm saying, that have messed this up. It's not the kids, and the kids shouldn't suffer for the adults making bad
And it's
decisions.
always that way. It,
Yeah.
and it's always that way where you have these people uh, stealing from these programs, and then young people are impacted by adult decisions. And so
Yeah.
we definitely have to make some noise about this. I mean, we definitely have to make some noise about this.
Yep. Yep.
This should not
Absolutely.
be allowed to happen. It definitely shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Okay. Okay. Now, was there any other topic that you'd like to get into?
Well, with you speaking on the part about Larry Hoover, I want to just go back to that point because most of our people have been trained to see um, this thing from a different angle than what it really is about, right?
Mhm.
Um, as I stated previously, prior, that Larry Hoover was well on track to take young people in a different direction, and
Mhm.
and because of that, he became public enemy number one. He was already in prison, and then he was already who he was, and so it was easy to turn people against him. But really, in actuality, it was the system that wanted to mass incarcerate, not just like the state of Illinois. We don't have private prisons here, right?
Mhm.
But we do have a correctional industry program, which is equivalent to what you see and saw in those correctional corporations of America, which are private prisons, and that is slavery. So a lot of your furniture, lines of furniture, and ethanol, for example. You ever heard
Mhm.
of the ethanol
Yes.
alternative fuel? One of the biggest ethanol plants is in Violent Correctional Center. So our
Wow.
people are in prison mass producing ethanol fuel. And so
Wow.
these things were not, they were never brought to the and explain to our people, that these things were happening. That slavery essentially was going on. And so for Larry Hoover to say that he's going to change the lives of young people, he got in the way of a lot of money. And so they decided that he had to be removed from um, the state prison system where he could be in contact with these young people turning their lives around. And the best way for them to do that was to put him underground.
Mhm.
And people don't know, being in Colorado in ADX, you are literally underground. When they say put you under
Wow.
the jail, he was put under the jail because he was
Wow.
turning things around. He was going in the direction of turning things around. And I want that message to get out because most of us don't know. Uh, we think that these politicians are upstanding and righteous people, in which they're not. And some
Wow.
of the very people they target are being targeted because they decided to go on the righteous path. Now, keep in mind, Larry Hoover was part of helping them get the first black female elected senator, who's Carol Mosley Braun. Do you remember her?
Mm-mm. No, I don't.
So Carol Mosley Braun was the first black female senator, United States senator, right,
Wow.
to be elected. Larry Hoover was very instrumental, along with some of the other street leaders that were locked up at that time. Uh, they were organizing. I know you remember the 21st century voter campaign, right?
Yeah.
When they talk about 21st century vote, well,
Hmm.
just as they were using Larry Hoover, they were planning to take him out of the equation because he
Wow.
was turning things around and he was able to get hundreds of thousands of people to go vote, not just young people, not just formerly incarcerated or deemed as gang members. No, he had families and people get involved with politics, and so him along with some of the other guys
Yeah, your audio is breaking up a little bit.
they gave him and a lot of those stories are not told, and
Okay.
or a lot of people don't know what this was all about.
Yeah, there was another I don't want to call it an incident, but I guess he had people, I guess people on the outside listen to him, and there was an organized event where they protested shutting down medical facilities, I guess, in Chicago, but they also protested to have Planned Parenthood shut down, and that was very successful in Chicago. Was he kind of, I don't want to say responsible for that, but did he contribute to that? Does that make sense? I don't know if you remember that um, protest that was done. Oops. Are you still there, Mark? There you go. I see you moving, but I just don't hear you. He'll be back with us shortly, you guys. I know sometimes internet has a little bit of a delay. We'll say that. Can you hear us, Mark? Okay. He might not hear us. It might be frozen. Like I'm hoping that we'll see some phone movement. Let me see. Because we do have a question from somebody in our listening audience. So I was waiting for Mark to come back on so I could ask him that question. Mark, are you there? Oops, got dropped. Ooh, no, he's back. There he is. There we go. I can't hear you. Sorry. Give 1 second. I know it's got to sync. Still can't hear you. Yeah, he had to come out and come back in again. He'll be back. Oh, turn off his Bluetooth. Okay. One of our listeners, Mark, if you're listening, said to turn off your Bluetooth. So hopefully he'll be able to join us again. Like I said, we are live, and there are times when, like I said, we're going through our technical bumps and bruises. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Mighty Men Thursday. And we have our special guest, Mark Carter. And you can definitely follow him at Chicago Going Red on X. That's at Chicago Going Red. And, he got to see some of the things firsthand that were going on with Larry Hoover. And I'm so grateful that he's able to share that with us. Can you hear us, Mark?
Yes, I can hear you. I
Okay,
can hear
good,
you.
good. Yes, we actually had
You
a
hear me?
question. Yes, I can hear you. We actually had a question from one
Uh
of
huh.
the members of our audience for you. It says, what can we do to help formerly incarcerated
Okay.
people get jobs and welcome them back into our communities with support and humanity?
Well, one of the first things that needs to be done is that we must unify as a people and understand that whether you are formerly incarcerated or just an everyday working class person, that as a family, uh, 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 we shouldn't allow the system to attack our people. That's the first thing that we must understand and do, right? Mass incarceration was never about the crimes that were being committed. They could care less if we killed one another, sold drugs. As long as it was contained, they could care less. It was just a way for them. It was just a way for them, and and what it was about was money, right? It was a way for them to make money. It was a way for them to demonize a group of men mainly, and then they began to even target our women so that they could make money. Again, they never cared about crimes that were being committed because they were for 20 years. How do you investigate a crime for 20 years? No, you're not
Right.
investigating. You're allowing it to happen. You're allowing people's
Right.
lives to be destroyed. And then after you have socially engineered the people into savagery, you allow it to happen for 20 years. So by the time you come in like the savior, people's lives are destroyed. People are
Yeah.
dead.
Right.
People have lost their homes, moved out of town. And so the way to help is for us to unify and not allow us to be demonized by the demons. Because
Mm.
most of these politicians who control the resources, these programs who receive the billions of dollars, they are the demons. They are the real criminals. The people like you just spoke of, Job Corps, they are the real demons. They the thieves. They the crooks. But because they control media, they were able to take young black men and women and make us public enemy number one, especially in the 90s. So this is about us unifying. And then second, we must take full control of our communities. Full control of our communities. When we built 2,000 and 3,000 Tulsas. And that was before all these mass groups of immigrants came in and burned our towns down. They came here starving. And if you go back in the history of these Italians and Irish, they were committing those same types of crimes.
Right. Right.
They were brought into white, given.
You're breaking up a little bit. We didn't get your response. I heard about the Italians and that was it. So you might have to start from there. Oops. Think we got disconnected again. Give us a moment, y'all. Because this is some good information. Definitely good information. And I know people are probably like, why is he out and mobile? Because he's getting it done. A lot of this doesn't get done just sitting at the house, sitting behind a keyboard. It gets done getting outside and getting in your car and going. And so wherever he's going, we're going, which is great. But it just shows you how hard he is working for the people. We have to be the champions of our own success, or we will sit back, and be the viewers of our own demise. That's just how it's going to go down. And so we have to decide who we want to be in this scenario. I may not know what another community needs, and I would never put myself in the position to make suggestions for their community, right? I wouldn't do that. To me, that's rude. Where Larry Hoover had really made that change of looking at the development of our community and how we needed to be more self-sustaining and really looking at that type of development. And that was right around the time that they sent him to federal prison. I mean, you know, like I said in another show that I did yesterday, but let the truth be told, they normally do not lock up ineffective individuals. They lock people up that are making an impact. And I don't think they could have afforded to take his life, right? The way Malcolm's and Martin Luther King's lives were taken. So, in my opinion, they put him in the hole and they didn't think he was going to survive it. But he has. With President Trump commuting his sentence and really giving him a second chance to be with his family is, it's a blessing, and this is why he made Alice Johnson the pardon czar, because when she was incarcerated, she saw that there were so many people like her that needed to be released and getting that second chance in life. And she just recently celebrated her 70th birthday this week. I've seen some pictures and some videos. I'm so happy for her. Happy birthday, Alice. And thank you so much for bringing this to the president's desk and for President Trump reacting so fast. It didn't take him any time to get this done. And now the battle begins at the state level with Governor Pritzker, right? To see, okay, what are going to be the next steps. So, unfortunately, guys, we're having some technical issues, but you know what? Maybe I can have Mark back on again. I know that there was a question that South had for Mark, and he was asking him, what are some things you want to see happen for Black Americans in the next 5 years? But that is a question, right? Let's see what, things we can see happen for Black Americans in the next 5 years. What I would love to see is definitely our independence and growth and development. And what I mean by that is really looking at some of these areas that are downtrodden and build them up, right? Put in the lunch programs that need to be there, put in the educational programs that need to be there, because right now we have seen that the educational system has failed our people, especially, right? Because we had the money for the resources and they came in and took the resources, but there was no education behind it. And so those are some of the things that I see needs change. Let me try. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because we are at our 2-hour mark. But what I can do is I can reach out to Mark and see if he can, maybe join us again next Thursday, or if he and I can just do a sit down interview and then I can bring that to you guys just via video. I know we'll be a little bit offline, but I can bring some of these questions to him that he can definitely respond to. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great one.